Few TV friendships felt as real as the bond between Cindy Williams, Penny Marshall, and the unforgettable duo of Lenny and Squiggy. But behind the laughter, quick jokes, and record-breaking success were surprising truths, creative struggles, and stories that stayed hidden for years. What really happened behind the scenes, and why did these four actors leave such a lasting mark on television history? This documentary uncovers the memories, friendships, and moments that fans rarely heard about. But what happened before the laughter, the famous catchphrases, and the television success changed everything? Long before millions of people laughed at Lenny and Squiggy, and long before Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall became two of America's most beloved sitcom stars, they were simply young dreamers trying to find a place in the entertainment world. Their paths would cross in unexpected ways, leading to one of television's most unforgettable friendships. During the 1970s, television was changing fast. Family sitcoms were becoming a part of everyday life. Viewers wanted characters who felt real, people who reminded them of friends, neighbors, and family members. Few could have guessed that a simple spin-off from Happy Days would become one of the biggest comedy shows of its time. Cindy Williams was born on August 22, 1947 in Van Nuys, California. From an early age, she loved performing. She was curious, creative, and determined to make people smile. Her family encouraged her interests, but success in Hollywood was never guaranteed. Like many young actors, she attended auditions, faced rejection, and waited for opportunities that often seemed just out of reach. Penny Marshall's journey looked different, yet it carried many of the same struggles. Born on October 15, 1943 in New York City, she grew up in a family surrounded by entertainment. Her father worked in industrial films, while her mother was a dance teacher. Even with those creative influences, Penny never imagined that she would become one of television's biggest stars. She often described herself in interviews as someone who never tried to appear glamorous. Instead, she relied on her natural humor, quick wit, and honest personality. What do you think creates lasting success in entertainment? Natural talent, hard work, or finding the right people at the right time? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Before either woman became famous, Hollywood tested their patience. They accepted small roles, waited outside casting offices, and hoped each audition would finally open the right door. Many projects ended before they began. Some roles went to other actors. Yet both women kept moving forward. Their lives changed when producer Gary Marshall, Penny's older brother, became one of television's most successful creative minds. While family connections introduced opportunities, they did not guarantee success. Penny still had to prove herself every time she stepped onto a set. Cindy, who had no family advantage in television production, earned her reputation through determination and steady performances. Around the same time, two young comedians were creating characters that would eventually become television legends. Michael McKean and David Lander had met while studying at Carnegie Mellon University. They developed two strange but hilarious characters named Lenny Kosnowski and Andrew Squiggy Squigman during comedy performances. Their exaggerated behavior, awkward confidence, and unforgettable entrance quickly became audience favorites. What began as a comedy routine for small audiences slowly evolved into something much bigger. Neither performer knew that these unusual characters would soon become household names across America. When Happy Days introduced Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney, viewers immediately connected with their friendship. Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall shared remarkable chemistry on screen. Their conversations felt natural, their jokes seemed effortless, and their friendship looked genuine because, in many ways, it truly was. The popularity of the characters became impossible to ignore. Audiences wanted more than occasional appearances. Television executives noticed the overwhelming response, leading to the creation of Laverne and Shirley in 1976. The series quickly became one of the highest-rated shows in America, attracting tens of millions of viewers during its peak years according to television ratings from the period. Soon, Lenny and Squiggy joined the new series as the lovable neighbors who were always bursting through the door with Squiggy's famous greeting, "Hello." Their strange behavior, endless confidence, and perfectly timed comedy balanced the personalities of Laverne and Shirley. Together, the four actors created a chemistry that felt impossible to copy. Yet viewers only saw the finished product. They did not witness the long rehearsals, script changes, or the hard work needed to make every scene appear effortless. Comedy often looks simple, but behind every laugh are countless hours of preparation. The friendships between the cast members grew through years of working together. Interviews over the years suggest there was genuine affection among many of the actors, even though, like any long-running television production, there were also creative disagreements and personal challenges. Those honest relationships helped make the show's friendships believable on screen. Still, beneath the success, another story was quietly developing. Fame brought pressure. Expectations grew higher each season. Creative differences slowly began to appear, and the future of these beloved friendships would become far more complicated than anyone watching from home could imagine. As the cameras kept rolling and the ratings continued to soar, the biggest test of their careers was still waiting just beyond the spotlight. But just when everything seemed to be falling into place, one unexpected partnership changed television history forever. What looked like a simple sitcom quickly became something much bigger. Behind every laugh was a group of actors who trusted each other, pushed one another to be better, and created comedy that still makes people smile decades later. Yet the strongest friendships would also face the hardest tests. When Laverne and Shirley premiered in January 1976, few people expected it to become a cultural phenomenon. As a spin-off of Happy Days, it already had a loyal audience, but no one could predict how deeply viewers would connect with Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney. The show followed two best friends working at the fictional Schatz Brewery in Milwaukee during the late 1950s. Their lives were simple. They worked hard, chased dreams, made mistakes, and supported each other through every challenge. That honesty made audiences feel as if they knew them personally. The ratings spoke for themselves. During its early seasons, Laverne and Shirley became one of the highest-rated television programs in the United States. Public television ratings from the era show it even reached the #1 position during the 1977-78 season, outperforming many established shows. For Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall, success came almost overnight. Suddenly, they were recognized everywhere. Magazine covers, television interviews, award ceremonies, millions of fans. Everything they had worked for was finally happening. But fame also created enormous pressure. Every episode carried huge expectations. Writers had to produce fresh stories. Directors needed every scene to work. The actors spent long hours rehearsing, filming, and promoting the show. Amid all of this stood two unforgettable supporting characters: Lenny and Squiggy. Michael McKean and David Lander had already spent years developing these characters before television audiences ever met them. They knew every movement, every expression, every awkward pause, and every ridiculous line. Their comedy looked spontaneous because they had perfected it through years of live performances. Their entrance became legendary. The apartment door would fly open. Squiggy would confidently announce, "Hello." The audience erupted with laughter before the conversation had even begun. It was one of television's most recognizable running jokes. Yet what made Lenny and Squiggy special was not simply their catchphrases. They were different. They were awkward. They often failed. But they never lost confidence. That strange mix made them lovable instead of annoying. Cindy Williams later spoke warmly in interviews about working with Michael McKean and David Lander. She often praised their professionalism and their ability to stay completely committed to every scene, no matter how unusual the script became. Penny Marshall also appreciated their creativity. Several interviews over the years reveal how much she enjoyed the playful atmosphere on set. The comedy often worked because every cast member understood timing. One small pause or one unexpected look could make an entire audience burst into laughter. Of course, creating that magic was not always easy. Comedy demands precision. Sometimes a single joke required several takes. Sometimes actors laughed during filming and had to begin again. Sometimes writers rewrote scenes only hours before filming. Viewers never saw that exhausting process. They only saw effortless laughter. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories behind television's greatest stars, subscribe because many of the biggest moments happened when the cameras were not rolling. As the years passed, the friendship between the four actors became one of the show's greatest strengths. Although each had a different personality, they balanced one another perfectly. Cindy brought warmth. Penny brought fearless humor. Michael brought clever improvisation. David brought boundless energy. Together, they created something that felt genuine. However, success often changes relationships. The higher the ratings climbed, the greater the pressure became from studios, producers, advertisers, and television executives. Everyone wanted the next season to be even bigger than the last. Creative disagreements naturally appeared. Some cast members wanted new directions. Others preferred protecting what already worked. These challenges happen on many successful television series, and Laverne and Shirley was no exception. Still, the public rarely noticed. They continued seeing four friends making each other laugh every week. Behind the scenes, each actor was also beginning to think about life beyond the sitcom. Could they succeed outside these famous characters? Would audiences accept them in different roles? Those questions became more important with every passing season. Everyone reaches a moment when they wonder whether to stay with what feels safe or take a risk for something bigger. Maybe you've faced that same choice in your own life. For Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall, those decisions would eventually reshape both their careers and their friendship. For Michael McKean and David Lander, new opportunities were also beginning to appear beyond Lenny and Squiggy. But none of them realized how quickly circumstances would change. The show's greatest success was already behind them. Its most emotional chapter was only beginning. And when long-hidden feelings were finally shared in later interviews, fans discovered that the real story behind Lenny and Squiggy, and the friendships that defined an era, was even more meaningful than the sitcom itself. But the biggest surprise wasn't that Laverne and Shirley became a hit, it was how the success changed everyone's lives forever. The four actors had become television icons. Their faces were recognized across America, their catchphrases entered everyday conversations, and fans believed the friendships on screen would last forever. Yet behind the scenes, each of them was beginning a very different journey. By the late 1970s, Laverne and Shirley was more than just another sitcom. It had become part of American popular culture. Families gathered around their televisions every week, laughing at the adventures of two best friends and their oddball neighbors, Lenny and Squiggy. The show's success opened countless doors. Cindy Williams became one of the most recognized actresses on television. Her warm smile and relatable personality made Shirley Feeney a favorite with viewers of all ages. Before the sitcom, Cindy had already impressed critics with roles in films such as American Graffiti and The Conversation. But Laverne and Shirley turned her into a household name. Penny Marshall experienced an equally remarkable rise. Her portrayal of the tough but lovable Laverne DeFazio felt completely natural. She wasn't trying to be perfect. She wasn't trying to be glamorous. She simply played the character with honesty, and audiences loved her for it. Michael McKean and David Lander also found themselves enjoying a level of fame they had never imagined. What started as two comedy characters created during college performances had become television legends. Fans waited for Squiggy's famous entrance. Children copied Lenny's expressions. The pair appeared on talk shows, magazine covers, and special television events. Their popularity extended far beyond the sitcom itself. Still, success brought new opportunities that stretched beyond acting. Michael McKean proved he was much more than Lenny. He explored music, comedy writing, and later built an impressive acting career across television, film, and theater. His versatility surprised many people who had only known him as the quirky neighbor with the funny voice. David Lander also expanded his career, appearing in numerous television programs and films while continuing to embrace the character that had made him famous. The cast had achieved something very rare. They had created characters people genuinely cared about. That kind of connection cannot be forced. It happens when audiences see truth beneath the comedy. According to interviews given over the years, Cindy Williams often spoke about how grateful she was for the fans who continued supporting the show long after its original broadcast. She understood that Laverne and Shirley had become part of people's memories. Penny Marshall shared similar feelings. Although she enjoyed acting, she also discovered another passion: directing. Many people didn't realize that behind Penny's sharp comic timing was a remarkable creative mind. After her acting career, she moved behind the camera and became one of Hollywood's most successful female directors. Her films included Big, starring Tom Hanks, followed by Awakenings and A League of Their Own. These films earned critical praise and commercial success, proving she could succeed in an entirely different role within the entertainment industry. Her achievements inspired many women hoping to work as directors in Hollywood, where opportunities had often been limited. Meanwhile, Cindy Williams continued acting in television, films, and theater productions. She remained deeply connected to her fans and frequently appeared at events celebrating classic television. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories behind the world's biggest stars, subscribe because some of the most powerful chapters begin after the cameras stop rolling. From the outside, everything appeared perfect. Successful careers, financial security, public admiration, lifelong friendships. But appearances can be misleading. Fame often creates pressures that audiences never see. Long working hours, constant public attention, creative disagreements, personal sacrifices. Every successful television show eventually reaches a crossroads. For Laverne and Shirley, that moment arrived sooner than anyone expected. As seasons passed, changes behind the scenes slowly affected the atmosphere on set. Public reports and interviews indicate that production became more complicated, particularly as cast members' personal lives evolved and creative priorities shifted. Viewers continued laughing every week, unaware that difficult decisions were approaching. The chemistry remained visible on screen. But maintaining that chemistry required increasing effort behind the scenes. Many people know what it's like to smile in public while carrying private worries. Success doesn't remove life's challenges, it often replaces old ones with new ones. The four stars had reached the height of television fame. Yet the greatest challenge wasn't becoming famous. It was protecting friendships, personal happiness, and creative fulfillment while living under constant public attention. And soon, events would unfold that no one had expected. Contracts would become complicated. Relationships would be tested. Difficult choices would have lasting consequences. Years later, when Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall reflected on their experiences and spoke about Michael McKean and David Lander, fans realized that the story behind Lenny and Squiggy was never just about comedy. It was about loyalty, growth, change, and the price that sometimes comes with extraordinary success. But just when it seemed they had everything, life began testing each of them in ways no audience could see. Behind the bright studio lights and roaring laughter were difficult choices, changing relationships, and personal struggles that slowly reshaped the future of Laverne and Shirley. Years later, Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall would speak openly about those days, offering fans a more complete picture of the people behind the famous characters. Success can be exciting. It can also be exhausting. By the early 1980s, the cast had spent years working together. Producing a hit sitcom meant long rehearsals, script meetings, promotional appearances, and demanding filming schedules. Every week, millions expected another funny episode. That pressure never completely disappeared. For Cindy Williams, life changed dramatically when she married singer and actor Bill Hudson. Soon, she was balancing a successful television career with her growing family. Like many working parents, she wanted both a rewarding career and time with her children. Unfortunately, those goals became increasingly difficult to balance. During the production of the show's 8th season, Cindy became pregnant. According to multiple public interviews and her memoir, disagreements developed over her working conditions and production schedule. Cindy later explained that she hoped adjustments could be made while she continued working. Those negotiations did not end as she had hoped. Instead, the situation became one of the biggest turning points in the history of the series. Cindy Williams left Laverne and Shirley before the final season was completed. For viewers, it came as a shock. One of television's most beloved friendships suddenly existed with only one half. Fans wondered what had happened. Rumors spread quickly. Some reports suggested personal conflict. Others blamed creative disagreements. Years later, Cindy spoke publicly about the situation, explaining that the decision was largely connected to contract disputes and the difficulties surrounding her pregnancy rather than a simple falling out with Penny Marshall. She expressed sadness about how everything unfolded and acknowledged that it was one of the hardest moments of her career. Penny Marshall also reflected on those years in later interviews. While she recognized how painful the situation had been, she generally avoided turning it into a public feud. Instead, she focused on moving forward while continuing the series. Even so, the show was never quite the same. The friendship between Laverne and Shirley had always been its heart. Without Cindy's Shirley, viewers immediately noticed the difference. Ratings gradually declined, and the program ended in 1983. For many fans, it truly marked the end of an era. Meanwhile, Michael McKean and David Lander continued building their careers, but they also faced their own personal challenges away from the sitcom. David Lander, who brought endless energy to Squiggy, privately lived with multiple sclerosis for many years before publicly revealing his diagnosis in 1999. He later became a passionate advocate for awareness, speaking honestly about the disease while continuing to work in television, sports broadcasting, and public appearances. His courage inspired many people facing similar health struggles. Rather than allowing the illness to define him, David chose to educate others and remain active for as long as possible. Michael McKean continued expanding his career with remarkable versatility. He earned praise for dramatic performances as well as comedy, appearing in films like This Is Spinal Tap and later television series such as Better Call Saul. His ability to reinvent himself showed that he was far more than the character of Lenny. Despite following different career paths, the memories of working together remained important. Over the years, Cindy Williams spoke warmly about Michael McKean and David Lander, remembering the laughter they shared on set and praising their dedication as performers. Penny Marshall also reflected with affection on the chemistry that made Lenny and Squiggy unforgettable, recognizing that their timing and creativity added something special to every episode. The four actors had experienced something rare. They had created friendships that audiences believed were real. Because, in many ways, they were. Like any long-term relationship, there were disagreements. There were misunderstandings. There were changing priorities. But there was also genuine respect built over years of shared experiences. Everyone faces seasons when life doesn't go according to plan. Dreams change. Careers shift. Relationships evolve. What matters most is often how we respond when those unexpected moments arrive. As time passed, fans looked back on Laverne and Shirley with growing appreciation. The laughter remained timeless. The characters never lost their charm. New generations discovered the show through reruns and streaming services, proving that great storytelling can outlive the era in which it was created. Still, one final chapter remained. Beyond the television screens, beyond the catchphrases, and beyond the memories, each member of the cast left a legacy that reached far beyond a single sitcom. And that lasting impact would become the most meaningful part of their story. But the real surprise came after the sitcom ended. While many people assumed the cast would always be remembered only as Laverne, Shirley, Lenny, and Squiggy, each of them quietly built a legacy that reached far beyond the television screen. Their influence spread into Hollywood, business, books, live performances, and charitable work, proving that their greatest achievements were still ahead. When Laverne and Shirley ended in 1983, many actors would have struggled to escape the shadow of such famous roles. It is common in Hollywood for performers to become permanently linked to one successful character. Yet this cast refused to stop growing. Perhaps the most remarkable transformation belonged to Penny Marshall. Instead of focusing only on acting, she stepped behind the camera. At the time, very few women directed major Hollywood films. It was an industry largely controlled by men, and opportunities for female directors were limited. Penny challenged those expectations. In 1988, she directed Big, starring Tom Hanks. The film became both a critical and commercial success, earning more than £100 million at the worldwide box office and helping establish Hanks as one of Hollywood's leading actors. More importantly, Penny became the first woman to direct a film that grossed over $100 million in the United States, according to industry records. She didn't stop there. She directed Awakenings, starring Robert De Niro and Robin Williams, a film that earned multiple Academy Award nominations. Then came A League of Their Own, another box office success featuring Geena Davis, Tom Hanks, Madonna, and Rosie O'Donnell. That film remains one of the most beloved sports dramas ever made. Penny had achieved something extraordinary. She wasn't simply a successful actress anymore. She had become one of Hollywood's most respected directors. Her journey inspired countless women who dreamed of working behind the camera. Meanwhile, Cindy Williams chose a different path. Rather than chasing blockbuster films, she focused on a career filled with variety. She appeared in television movies, guest-starred on popular series, performed in theater productions across the United States, and stayed closely connected with her fans. She also shared her life story in her memoir, Shirley, I Jest, giving readers an honest and often humorous look at her career, family life, and experiences in Hollywood. The book revealed both joyful memories and painful moments, allowing fans to understand the woman behind Shirley Feeney. Michael McKean built one of the most versatile careers of anyone from the cast. Many actors spend their careers repeating familiar roles. Michael did the opposite. He constantly reinvented himself. He starred in the classic mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap, co-wrote music, appeared on Broadway, and earned widespread praise for dramatic performances. Years later, a whole new generation discovered him through Better Call Saul, where his performance as Chuck McGill earned critical acclaim and award nominations. It was proof that talent can continue growing long after early success. David Lander also refused to let one role define him. Even after revealing that he had multiple sclerosis, he remained active in entertainment and became a powerful advocate for people living with the disease. He spoke openly at public events, raised awareness, and showed remarkable courage. His honesty touched thousands of families facing similar challenges. Success, for him, became about helping others as much as entertaining them. If these hidden journeys remind you that success often has many chapters, consider subscribing. Some of Hollywood's greatest stories begin only after the spotlight starts to fade. Although their careers moved in different directions, one thing never disappeared: the affection fans felt for the four of them. Television channels continued airing reruns. Streaming platforms introduced the series to younger audiences. Fan conventions welcomed cast members with standing ovations. Decades after the show first aired, people still quoted Squiggy's famous "hello" and smiled at the unforgettable friendship between Laverne and Shirley. That lasting popularity also created new opportunities. Interviews, retrospectives, books, television specials, reunion events. Whenever Cindy Williams or Penny Marshall reflected on Lenny and Squiggy, they usually spoke with appreciation for the unique energy Michael McKean and David Lander brought to every episode. Their comedy was never simply about delivering jokes, it was about creating believable characters whose friendship felt as real as that of Laverne and Shirley. Everyone hopes the work they do today will still matter years from now. Whether you're building a career, raising a family, or chasing a dream, your greatest legacy is often the impact you leave on other people. Looking back, it becomes clear that none of these performers measured success only by fame or money. They valued creativity, friendship, growth, and the chance to make people laugh. But time moves forward for everyone. As the years passed, the cast faced heartbreaking losses, emotional farewells, and the reality that one television era was slowly coming to an end. Their final chapter would become the most emotional of all, not because of ratings or awards, but because of the lasting influence they left behind. But the final chapter of this story is not about endings. It is about the memories that refuse to fade. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, the laughter continued through reruns, streaming services, and generations of fans who discovered Laverne and Shirley for the very first time. The people behind those unforgettable characters became part of television history, and their influence continues today. As the years passed, the cast followed different paths, but they remained forever connected by one extraordinary show. Penny Marshall became one of Hollywood's most respected directors. Her success behind the camera proved that she was much more than the lovable Laverne DeFazio. She broke barriers for women in filmmaking and inspired future generations to believe that talent mattered more than expectations. When Penny passed away on December 17, 2018 at the age of 75 due to complications from diabetes, tributes poured in from across Hollywood. Actors, directors, comedians, fans. Everyone remembered not only her remarkable career but also her kindness, humor, and unmistakable personality. Tom Hanks praised her ability to make every actor feel comfortable. Friends remembered her sharp wit. Audiences remembered the laughter she gave them. A few years later, another heartbreaking loss followed. On January 25, 2023, Cindy Williams passed away at the age of 75 after a brief illness. Her family announced the news with a heartfelt statement, describing Cindy as someone whose kindness and humor brought joy to everyone around her. Fans around the world shared favorite memories of Shirley Feeney. Many admitted that watching Laverne and Shirley had helped them through difficult times. That is one of television's greatest gifts. Sometimes a simple comedy becomes much more than entertainment. It becomes comfort. It becomes family. It becomes part of people's lives. Michael McKean continued building an impressive career, proving that great performers never stop evolving. From comedy classics to award-winning dramas, he demonstrated extraordinary range while always treating his early television success with respect. David Lander continued inspiring people until his passing on December 4, 2020. Even while living with multiple sclerosis, he chose optimism over self-pity. He often used humor to discuss difficult subjects. He reminded people that courage does not always look dramatic. Sometimes courage is simply refusing to give up. One of the most touching parts of this story is how Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall reflected on Lenny and Squiggy in later interviews. Rather than focusing only on disagreements or difficult moments, they often remembered the laughter, the long days on set, the friendships, the unforgettable chemistry that could never be manufactured. They recognized that Michael McKean and David Lander had helped create something truly special. Without Lenny and Squiggy, Laverne and Shirley would not have been the same. The four actors completed one another. Each brought a unique energy. Each trusted the others. That trust became visible every time the cameras rolled. Looking back today, it is easy to understand why the show continues attracting new audiences. The jokes still work. The friendships still feel genuine. The emotions still ring true. Although the world has changed enormously since the 1970s, people still understand what it means to chase dreams, support friends, laugh through hard times, and hope for a better tomorrow. Those themes never grow old. The story of Cindy Williams, Penny Marshall, Michael McKean, and David Lander also teaches another important lesson. Success is rarely built alone. Behind every famous face are people who encourage, challenge, and inspire one another. The greatest achievements often come from teamwork rather than individual talent. That may be the real reason audiences loved these four performers. Their friendship felt authentic because it was built on years of shared experiences, mutual respect, and creative trust. Even when life took them in different directions, they remained connected through the work they created together. Everyone leaves behind something. It may not be a television show. It may be kindness, laughter, encouragement, or the lives we touch along the way. The greatest legacy is not measured by awards or fame but by the memories people carry long after we are gone. Today, Laverne and Shirley continues reaching new viewers through classic television channels and streaming platforms. Young audiences who were not even born when the show first aired still laugh at Lenny and Squiggy's unforgettable entrances and smile at the friendship between Laverne and Shirley. That is the mark of timeless storytelling. It survives generations. It crosses cultures. It reminds us that genuine humor and honest friendship never go out of style. As we look back on the remarkable journeys of Cindy Williams, Penny Marshall, Michael McKean, and David Lander, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. They gave audiences far more than comedy. They gave hope. They gave comfort. They gave unforgettable memories. And perhaps that is why, decades later, millions of people still remember them with a smile. But this is only one story of fame, friendship, and lasting legacy. Another remarkable Hollywood journey hides an even more surprising truth, and you can discover it in the next documentary.